Welcome to the Bedtime Tales, a sanctuary for calm, comfort, and stories that drift beyond reality. Every night, we journey somewhere just out of reach, and tonight we're going somewhere the maps forgot. Have you ever stepped into a place and felt like the trees themselves were watching you? Camp Larkspur was that place. Quiet, too quiet, almost like it had been waiting. Tonight's tale is the Summer Camp Haunting, a quiet, eerie story set deep in the woods, where childhood memories clash with something older and far less kind. A presence that doesn't chase, it waits. You'll hear of campers returning to an abandoned ground, a place where mirrors don't always reflect, and the shadows remember more than we do. There are no jump scares here, just slow, creeping truths, echoes, and a whisper from something that only wanted to be remembered. So settle in. Let the hush of evening wrap around you. Because here on the Bedtime Tales, no story is ever truly lost, not even the haunted ones. Tonight's story is the Summer Camp Haunting.
The van rumbled up a gravel path, kicking up dust that hung in the summer heat like a lazy fog. The sign, half-rotted and sun-bleached, read Camp Larkspur, estimated 1954. Below it, someone had spray-painted "Welcome Back" in fresh white letters, far too cheerful for the state of the place. "Charming," Jenna muttered, sliding her sunglasses down her nose to get a better look. "Doesn't look haunted at all." Cam chuckled from the back. "Give it 5 minutes." Their group of 6 had volunteered for the summer reopening, college credit, outdoor air, and some nostalgic nonsense about giving back. The camp hadn't seen life since the late 90s. Rumors swirled about why it closed down, but no one had cared to dig too deep. As they stepped out, the woods around them shifted. Not loudly, just enough. Tall trees loomed on every side, branches laced together like fingers holding secrets. The cabins, old but sturdy, lined the clearing, their wooden steps creaking under the weight of time. A small lake glimmered at the edge, its still surface reflecting nothing but sky. No birds. No boats. A woman with a clipboard met them, thin, gray hair pulled into a tight ponytail. Her name tag read Marta. "You're the last group," she said. "We're assigning you to cabin 6. Stay together. Lights out by 11. No lake swimming after dark." Her voice was clipped, almost rehearsed. As though she'd said those same words long ago. Before anything went wrong. The inside of cabin 6 was warmer than expected. Pine walls. Bunk beds. A dusty lantern hung from a hook in the ceiling. "You'd think they'd at least dust," muttered Nate, tossing his bag onto the top bunk. "Maybe leave us a welcome cookie or something." Jenna brushed cobwebs off a windowsill. "Or a map of the places not to go if we value our souls." Cam peered through the window. The lake shimmered beyond the trees. "Do you ever get that weird déjà vu? Like you've been somewhere before, even when you haven't?" There was a pause. "Maybe you have," said Claire, half joking. "Maybe in another life, you were the one who drowned here." "Dude," Nate hissed. "Don't say crap like that on the first night." Claire just smiled and shrugged. Later that evening, after dinner in the main hall, they returned to their cabin. Marta's voice still rang in their ears, "Stay in your cabins after dark. The forest gets confusing." Nobody asked what she meant. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows between the trees. Crickets chirped. A warm breeze whispered through the screens. Lights flickered. Just for a moment. "Old wiring," Liam said, plugging in his phone. It buzzed. Then died. "Here. No signal." "Guess we're off the grid," Jenna muttered. "Hope nothing terrible happens." As night deepened, the forest came alive, not with animal sounds, but something different. Softer. Too soft. Like breath against glass. Cam turned in his bunk. "Do you guys hear that?" "Hear what?" Claire whispered. He sat up. "Whispers. Outside." Everyone froze. Then, footsteps. Slow, crunching gravel. Right past their cabin door. Then, nothing. They waited. Held their breath. No knock. No scream. No lights. Just silence. Jenna pulled the blanket over her head. "First night," she whispered. "And already it feels like this place remembers something we don't." The morning light didn't feel like it belonged. It filtered through the crooked slats of cabin 6, hazy and pale, like it had traveled too far to be warm. The forest outside remained eerily still, as though it too had fallen asleep and never quite woken up. No one mentioned the footsteps. Not at first. Cam sat on the steps, a steaming mug of camp-issued coffee in hand. It tasted burnt, but he didn't mind. His eyes stayed fixed on the trail that led past their cabin and deeper into the woods, where the gravel path had crunched softly in the night. Liam joined him with a yawn. "Couldn't sleep either?" Cam shook his head. "I think someone was out there," he muttered. "Around 3 or so. I heard them. Footsteps. Slow." "Same," Liam said quietly. "Thought it was just me." A pause stretched between them. Then, "Should we tell the others?" Cam hesitated. "Let's just see what the day brings." After a quick breakfast in the mess hall, the group was split up for camp duties. Jenna and Claire helped Marta sort out ancient supplies in the storage shed, while Nate and Cam were sent to the lake docks to repair broken planks. The lake water shimmered under the mid-morning sun, clear and still. Too still. As if it were waiting to ripple. Cam knelt, prying up old nails from a loose board. "You really think they're gonna reopen this place for kids next summer?" "Only if they want lawsuits," Nate replied. "This dock's held together by rotten prayer." They laughed, but the sound barely carried. A breeze passed. Then silence again. Too silent. "Hey," Nate said after a beat, "does this place give you the creeps, or am I just soft?" Cam looked up, eyes scanning the tree line. Definitely creepy. But familiar. Like something you half remember from a dream. You know it, but you don't know why. From the corner of his eye, Cam saw movement. A figure. White dress. By the trees. He stood abruptly. But when he looked again, nothing. Just a shimmer in the heat, dancing off the lake like a trick of light. "You good?" Nate asked. Cam didn't answer. Meanwhile, Jenna stood in the storage shed, sneezing through layers of dust as she pulled open a splintered trunk. "This one's full of old counselor logs," she called out. Claire, sorting through rusted lanterns, looked up. "Anything juicy?" Jenna flipped through the topmost binder, yellowed pages curling at the edges. Most entries were uneventful. Rain forecasts. Campfire menus. Supply orders. Then she paused. One log, dated July 14, 1996, was scribbled hastily, barely legible. "Heard crying again by cabin 6. No one there. Kids swore they saw someone near the lake. Can't keep pretending it's raccoons. If this keeps up, I'm calling it in. Something's wrong here." Jenna froze. Claire stepped over. "What is it?" She handed over the logbook silently. Claire read the entry, then looked at her. "That's cabin 6, right?" "Yeah." "Creepy. You think it's just an old camp ghost story?" Jenna nodded slowly, but her fingers tightened around the binder. She'd seen something else on the page, faint pencil marks, almost rubbed out. Scrawled in the margin. "She watches from the trees. Always at dusk." That night, dinner passed quietly. Everyone seemed on edge, as if they all knew something was off but were too tired or too proud to admit it. Marta reminded them again, no wandering after lights out. Her eyes lingered on Cam just a little too long. In cabin 6, they gathered on the lower bunks, flashlights pointed at the ceiling like they were 10 again. Okay, Claire said, voice light but tight, real talk. Did anyone else hear something last night? Cam nodded. So did Liam. Slowly, the others joined. I thought it was an animal, Jenna said. But there was something weird. Like a whisper. Really close. I saw someone, Cam blurted. By the lake. White dress. Just standing there. Claire's smile faltered. Funny. That's what the old logbook said. The room dropped in temperature, not literally, but emotionally. Everyone felt it. Nate forced a laugh. All right. Great. Haunted camp cliches. What's next? Ouija board in the arts and crafts shed? They chuckled nervously. Then, the light bulb above flickered. Buzzed. Died. Flashlights clicked on. A collective breath held. Outside, footsteps again. But this time, they were slower. Heavier. And they stopped just outside the cabin door. Knock. Knock. Everyone jumped. Then silence. Cam stood up, cautiously approaching the door. The knob didn't turn. The door didn't creak open. But he heard it again. A whisper. Right against the wood. Low. Female. Gentle. His name. Cameron. He stepped back. Nope. Nope. Not opening that. No one slept well. Jenna sat up late with her flashlight, staring at the carvings on the wooden frame of the bunk above her. Tiny initials. Dates. And something new she hadn't noticed before. Right above her headboard. Help her remember. She blinked. When she looked again, it was gone. Just grainy wood. Or maybe, just hiding in plain sight.
Some places keep their memories etched into the walls. Camp Larkspur had names. So many names. Like scars carved into the wood. The problem wasn't that they were there. It was that no one remembered them.
The next morning, fog blanketed the campgrounds like a heavy breath, curling around tree trunks and lingering stubbornly along the trail. The group moved slower, their usual teasing subdued into uneasy silence. No one mentioned the knock. No one had to. Inside cabin 6, Cam stood by the far wall, his fingers tracing the shallow grooves in the old pine. Names were everywhere. Some barely legible, worn down by time. Others fresh-looking, disturbingly crisp. Claire joined him, arms crossed. What are you looking at? These names, Cam said, voice distant. They weren't here yesterday. Claire leaned in. There were at least 20 etched into the wood. All in different handwriting. Katie, Trevor, Max, and Anna. One stood out in particular, Elsie. It was carved deeper than the rest, like whoever had done it was trying to make sure it was never forgotten. Claire frowned. I swear I saw that name in the storage logs yesterday. Cam stepped back. So, are they just camp kids? Maybe, she said, but the unease in her voice told a different story. They both stared at the wall. At the names that shouldn't have been there. After lunch, Jenna decided to go back to the storage shed alone. Something about that logbook had been nagging at her. She rummaged through boxes until she found it, the 1996 binder. Flipping through the pages, her eyes scanned each entry quickly. There it was again, July 14th. The hurried writing. The crying near cabin 6. Then, an entry from July 15th. Elsie's bunk was empty this morning. No sign of her. We've searched the woods, the lake. Nothing. No one remembers seeing her at dinner. It's like she vanished overnight. Jenna's heart thudded. Below the entry, another scribble, written in what looked like different ink, maybe a different hand. Don't forget her. She's still waiting. Jenna shivered, clutching the book tight to her chest. Meanwhile, Liam and Nate were repairing a broken fence by the tree line near the eastern edge of the campgrounds. The trees were denser here. The air colder, thicker. As they worked, Nate's hammer slipped and clattered to the ground. "Crap," he muttered, bending down. "Where'd it?" He stopped. There, etched into the base of one of the fence posts, was a familiar name. Nate. His name. In clean, deep letters. He swallowed. "Hey, Liam." But Liam didn't answer. He was staring into the trees, eyes wide. "Do you see her?" he whispered. Nate turned. At first, there was nothing but shifting mist. Then, barely visible between the trunks, stood a girl. Long white dress. Barefoot. Hair matted to her face. Her hands hung at her sides. She wasn't moving. Not blinking. Just staring. Liam stepped forward. "Don't," Nate hissed, grabbing his arm. The girl's head tilted ever so slightly. Then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. No sound. No movement. Just the sudden awareness that she had been there, and that they had seen her. Liam's voice cracked. "That was real, right?" Neither of them answered. That night, no one wanted to be alone. They gathered in the cabin again, flashlights and sleeping bags pulled close together, as if proximity might offer protection. "I found something," Jenna said, holding up the binder. Cam glanced up. "The logbook." "There was a girl," Jenna continued. "Elsie. She disappeared in 1996. The counselor said it was like she was just gone." Claire's voice was hushed. "Like someone else we know." Everyone looked at her. "What?" Nate asked. Claire hesitated. "I keep thinking about those names. All the ones carved into the walls. What if they're all kids who vanished? Like Elsie?" Liam added quietly, "What if no one remembers them because they were erased?" A heavy silence fell. Then the flashlight in the corner flickered. Once. Twice. Then off. When it clicked back on, the air in the room felt colder. On the far wall, where there had been only names, was now a new message carved deeply into the wood. None of them had seen it written. None of them had heard anyone move. But it was there, fresh and splintered. "She remembers you." The flashlight dropped. Everyone screamed. Later that night, after the panic settled and the lights finally steadied, Cam found himself lying awake, eyes fixed on the bunk above. He couldn't stop thinking about the girl in white. Elsie. He had seen her. He knew it. But there was something else. Something worse. He felt like he knew her. Like he had seen her face before in a picture long ago, tucked in a forgotten yearbook or a family album buried deep. But the memory stayed just out of reach, like a word on the tip of his tongue. Somewhere between fear and sleep, a single whispered thought curled into his mind. What if we weren't just chosen to be here? What if we've been here before?
Not all ghost stories are made up. Some are warnings. Some are memories. And some are apologies that no one was brave enough to speak when it mattered most.
The fire crackled in the ring, casting jagged shadows onto the circle of logs arranged around it. The group sat close together, not for warmth. July nights at Larkspur were still and humid, but for safety. Or the illusion of it. Claire leaned forward, flipping a marshmallow over the flame. Her fingers shook, just barely. No one had brought up the message carved into the wall again. It was as if saying it out loud might make it come back. Cam stared into the fire, eyes unfocused. "It feels like we're being watched." Liam added, "Because we are." A silence followed. Then, footsteps. Not from the woods. From behind. They all turned at once. Marta, the camp director, emerged from the path that led to the main hall. Her ever-clipboardless hands now held an old thermos. "Didn't mean to startle you," she said, voice low. "Fire's always been good for talking." She stepped into the firelight, her features illuminated in full for the first time since they arrived. Her face looked older than it had yesterday. Tired. Almost weathered. Marta sat on a nearby log without asking. For a moment, the group didn't speak. Then Cam asked, "You knew her, didn't you?" Marta's face didn't change, but her hands clenched around the thermos. "Elsie." The name seemed to float there, suspended in the smoke. Marta gave a slow nod. "I was a counselor here," she said. "Summer of 1996. My last year." Claire's brow furrowed. "You were here when she went missing." Marta stared into the fire, eyes flickering like the flames reflected there were from another time. "We thought she'd run away. That maybe she got lost in the woods, wandered too far. She was quiet, strange, always talking about someone she saw at night." Nate asked quietly, "Someone in white?" Marta's lips thinned. "She said there was a girl outside her window, crying. Said she tried to talk to her once, but the girl didn't answer, just walked into the woods. We thought it was her imagination." "What happened?" Jenna asked. Marta exhaled, long and tired. "She didn't come to breakfast one morning. Her bunk was made. Her shoes were gone. So was her journal." Everyone leaned in instinctively. "We searched everywhere. Cops came. Dogs. Helicopters. But nothing. No tracks. No signs. Just gone." She paused. Her name was scrubbed from the camp records the next summer. Like it would make the place less cursed. A log cracked in the fire, the sparks leaping up like fireflies. Cam frowned. "Why come back? Why reopen this place now?" Marta hesitated. "I didn't want to," she admitted. "But I couldn't stay away, either. I still dream about her sometimes. She's still that same quiet girl, sitting by the lake with her feet in the water, waiting for someone who never comes." Jenna whispered, "Waiting for what?" Marta looked up, her eyes glossed and distant. "For someone to remember." After Marta left, the group stayed by the fire. No one spoke. The flames died slowly. The darkness grew. They returned to cabin 6 just past midnight. It felt colder than usual. Even the air had lost its warmth. As they filed in, Claire froze. "What is that?" They turned to look. On the center bunk, a small book lay on the pillow. Leather-bound. Dusty. Thin silver clasp. Cam stepped forward and opened it. The handwriting was childlike, looping and wide. June 18th. "They don't believe me. But I saw her again. She was crying behind the trees. Her dress was torn. I think she's hurt." June 19th. "She was closer tonight. She kept whispering. It sounded like my name. I want to help her. But Marta says I need to stop lying." They flipped the pages. June 21st. "Last night she was in my room. At the end of my bed. She didn't move. But I think she's lonely. I don't think she remembers who she is. I don't think I do, either." A cold hush filled the cabin. "I think this was Elsie's," Claire said softly. On the very last page, scribbled in what looked like red ink, or something darker, was one sentence. "She said if I help her remember, she'll let me go." Liam backed away. "Okay. That's enough for one night." Cam closed the book gently and placed it on the table. But as he did, a small photograph slipped out from between the pages. A grainy black and white shot of a group of kids standing in front of the old mess hall. All smiling. But behind them, blurry and faded, stood another figure. A girl. Face turned. Eyes white. Dress unmistakably white. "She's been here longer than we thought," Jenna whispered. That night, no one slept. And sometime around 3, as the wind stirred the leaves just outside cabin 6, the door creaked open slowly. No one had touched it. No one heard footsteps. But on the floor, just inside the cabin, was a trail of water, leading from the open door, all the way to Cam's bed.
Sometimes the past doesn't haunt you with footsteps or shadows. It comes through in the cracks, in the flicker of a light, the buzz of an old radio. It hums beneath the surface, waiting for you to listen.
The next morning, Cam awoke to damp bedsheets. Not sweat. Cold water. Only his bed. Only his pillow. The others stirred slowly. No one spoke at first. It was Jenna who noticed it next. "Why's the cabin floor wet? No rain last night. No leaks." And yet, a thin trail of water stretched from the still open door to Cam's bed. Exactly like it had been left there. "Okay, I'm officially done pretending this is normal," Nate muttered, sitting up with bags under his eyes. "I want to go home." "There's no car until Monday," Claire reminded him quietly. "And no signal." The weight of that fact hung in the air. They were trapped. Later that day, Liam and Cam were sent to the old activities cabin near the back of the camp. It hadn't been used in years. Marta had said they were clearing it out so it could eventually be turned into an arts room again. The inside smelled of wood rot and rust. Cobwebs decorated every beam. Light filtered through cracked window panes like fingers. But it was the radio that caught their attention. Old. Dust-covered. A relic from another time. It sat on a wooden table, partially buried beneath boxes of yellowed coloring books and stacks of film reels. Liam reached for it. "You think this thing still works?" Cam shrugged. "Doubt it." Liam turned the dial. Static. Then, click. The radio snapped on by itself. A soft, warbling melody began to play. A lullaby. Slightly distorted, like it was coming through water. Then, a voice. Childlike. Low. Almost a whisper. "Cam?" He froze. Liam frowned. "What did it just say?" The radio hissed. Then silence. Cam stared at it. He was sure of what he heard. His name. Clearly. Gently. Like someone calling to him from the bottom of a lake. He turned the dial again, but nothing but static returned. Then, screech. A brief, sharp shriek cut through the speaker. Like nails dragging across a chalkboard. The lights in the cabin flickered. And just as suddenly, everything went quiet again. Back in cabin 6, Cam relayed what happened. "They called your name?" Jenna asked. Cam nodded. "Not like a recording. It felt like they were trying to get my attention." "Did they sound like a kid?" Claire asked. "Yes. But also older. Like they were stuck in that voice." Nate stood, pacing. "Okay, we've had ghost girls, weird carvings, journals, water trails, and now haunted radios? What are we even dealing with here?" Jenna grabbed her backpack and pulled something out. The photograph. The one from Elsa's journal. She'd been staring at it all morning, something about it gnawed at her. She held it up in the window light. Then she gasped. "There's more than one girl in white." Everyone crowded around her. At the very edge of the frame, almost too faint to see, was another figure. Also female. Also in white. But taller. Older. Her head bent low, long hair covering her face. "They are not alone," Jenna whispered. "Elsie might not be the only one trapped here." Cam sat back slowly. "Then who's calling me?" No one had an answer. But that night, he would hear her again. The group agreed to stick together until they could leave on Monday. No more splitting up. No more solo errands. That night, they sat by the window as the sun sank behind the trees. Every shadow felt like it might move. Every creak made them jolt. Then the radio buzzed again. From inside their own cabin. They hadn't brought the one from the activities building. This was another. Old. Boxy. It had been buried under the bunk drawer. Forgotten. Or placed. It crackled. Then turned on. A lullaby played. The same one. Then came the voice. Faint. Distorted. "Do you remember the water, Cam?" His heart stopped. Jenna stepped back. Claire clutched the edges of her sleeping bag. Then, another voice, higher. Childlike. Familiar. "She won't stop unless someone tells the truth." Then silence. The radio turned off by itself. No one moved. No one breathed. It was Liam who said what they were all thinking. "Cam, do you remember something? Something you haven't told us?" Cam opened his mouth. Then closed it. His mind flashed to a swimming pool. A girl with long hair. A scream underwater. A blur. A memory, slippery, hard to grip. But it was there. Somewhere. Deep. Waiting. He shook his head. "I don't know. I don't know what it means." The others didn't push. But the silence between them grew louder. That night, while the others tried to sleep, Cam lay awake, staring at the ceiling. At 2:44 a.m., the radio crackled again. But this time, there was no song. Only one line. "You were there, Cam. I remember."
What would you do if a reflection didn't show you, but someone else entirely? What if a room remembered what you tried to forget? At Camp Larkspur, there's a place like that. A cabin that never got listed on the maps.
The fog returned by morning. Heavier this time. It curled around the base of the trees like a living thing. The sky was a dull gray, sunless. Time felt slower. By now, the group had stopped pretending everything was okay. The whispers. The water. The voices. The radio had gone missing by sunrise. No one had touched it. It was just gone. Marta was nowhere to be found either. The mess hall was locked. Her clipboard left on the porch, damp with dew. She hadn't answered when they knocked on her cabin door. "I don't like this," Jenna muttered, rubbing her arms. "I don't think she left." "I think she's hiding," Claire said. They were all thinking the same thing. She knew more than she let on. And then Cam remembered something. "Last night, before the voice said my name again, I saw something. In the woods." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Another ghost?" Cam shook his head. "A path. Overgrown, but there. I think there's another cabin out there. One that's not on the maps." They set off after lunch, sticking close. The forest behind cabin 6 was denser, darker. Branches snagged at their shirts. The air had that same strange weight to it, as though they were walking into something ancient, untouched. They followed the trail Cam had seen, barely more than a gap between ferns. After 15 minutes, they found it. A cabin, hidden beneath thick vines and rotting moss. Smaller than the others. Its roof sagged in the center. The door hung crookedly, but intact. No one spoke as Cam reached for the handle. It creaked open slowly. The inside smelled of mildew and old wood. Dust danced in the sunlight that pushed through the shattered window. The strangest part? There were no beds, no chairs, no lanterns, only mirrors. Dozens of them. Some full length, others handheld. One on every wall. Some were shattered. Some, unbroken, reflected the group as they stepped in. But not correctly. "Wait," Nate said, stopping in front of a full-length mirror. "That's not what I'm wearing." They turned to look. In the reflection, Nate wore a red hoodie. He wasn't wearing one. Jenna gasped. "That's the hoodie you wore on move-in day. You changed out of it after the hike." Nate stepped back. Cam stared into a cracked oval mirror on the far wall. His reflection didn't move when he did. Instead, it tilted its head and smiled. He stumbled backward. "Okay, this place is wrong." Claire had gone silent. She stood in front of a wide mirror nailed to the back wall. Her eyes were wide, her hands shaking. "What is it?" Liam asked, stepping beside her. "I see something behind me." He looked into the mirror. Behind Claire, a girl. Long hair, eyes wide and white. But when he turned to look over his shoulder, no one was there. "I don't like this," Claire whispered. They all backed out of the cabin slowly. But before they left, Jenna noticed something written in fog on the largest mirror, fading fast. "Not your first time here." They returned to cabin 6 in silence. None of them could explain what they saw. They couldn't even be sure what was real anymore. That night, the dreams started. Each one different, but eerily similar. Cam dreamed of the lake. He was underwater, unable to breathe. Above him, a girl screamed his name, but her mouth made no sound. He tried to swim up, but something pulled him back down. When he awoke, he was wet again. His clothes, his sheets, the trail of water back. The others had dreams too. Claire saw a girl behind her in the mirror, mouthing words she couldn't hear. Nate dreamed of the woods, but the trees whispered his name. And they knew things. Things he hadn't told anyone since he was 13. Jenna's dream was worse. She stood at the campfire, alone. Each log around her was occupied by her friends, but they didn't move, didn't blink. Their skin was gray. And behind them, that girl in white. She leaned in and whispered something in Jenna's ear. Something she couldn't remember. Not yet. But the word was still there when she woke up, etched into the wood at the foot of her bed. "Confess." The first raindrops came just after nightfall. Slow at first, like the sky was testing them. Then came the downpour. Heavy, relentless. It hammered the cabin roof, drowned out the forest's usual murmurs, and turned the camp paths into muddy rivers. The group sat in near darkness. Only one flashlight remained with working batteries. The rest had flickered out. Claire pressed her hands to her ears. "It's too loud." "It's just rain," Nate muttered, though his tone said he didn't believe it either. Lightning lit up the windows. Then thunder, so close it shook the floorboards. Cam sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the floor. There, beneath the cracked wood near his footlocker, was a folded piece of paper. Damp. Yellowed. He picked it up, slowly. "Did one of you drop this?" he asked, but no one had moved. The paper trembled in his hand. He unfolded it. Only one sentence was scrawled across the page, written in shaky block letters. "I saw what you did." Cam's chest tightened. "What is it?" Jenna asked, stepping toward him. He handed her the note. She read it aloud, then went silent. Lightning flashed again. Then came the scream. A real one. From outside. It echoed through the trees, sharp, panicked, unmistakably female. Everyone froze. Then Claire whispered, "That came from the lake." The storm raged on, but Cam couldn't sit still. Neither could the others. They grabbed ponchos and jackets, whatever they could find, and bolted from the cabin. The rain instantly soaked through their clothes, turning the world around them into a cold, thrashing blur. Mud sucked at their boots. The flashlight beam trembled in Liam's hand. They reached the edge of the lake within minutes. Waves slapped against the shore. The old dock groaned with each gust of wind. Then Nate spotted something. There, on the water. A figure. Barefoot. White dress clinging to her body. Standing at the end of the dock. Motionless. "Elsie!" Claire called out, her voice barely audible over the storm. The figure didn't respond. Lightning flashed again. And then the figure was gone. Not jumped. Not dove. Just vanished. Liam staggered forward. "Where'd she go?" Cam pointed to the dock. "There's something there." They all ran forward. At the edge of the dock, a small metal locket lay in a puddle. Cam bent down and picked it up. It was cold. When he pried it open, he found a faded picture of a girl, dark hair, wide eyes, a smile that didn't reach them. On the other side of the locket, someone had scratched a word into the metal. "Cam!" His hand dropped. The others stared at him. "What is going on?" Jenna said, "Why your name? Why is it always your name?" Cam swallowed. His voice cracked. "I think I knew her." Claire's eyes widened. "You said you didn't remember." "I didn't. But I do now. At least, parts of it." They waited. Then he spoke. "She went to my school. Not college, before that. Years ago. I barely remembered until now. But she was in my class. She didn't talk much. People called her weird. Said she followed people. Drew creepy pictures." He stared into the rain. "One day, a bunch of us dared her to come to the pool after school. Said we were going to hang out. But it was a lie. We just wanted to scare her." Claire's voice was cold. "What did you do?" Cam hesitated. "I pushed her. Just a joke. Into the deep end. I didn't think. I didn't know." His breath shook. "She didn't come up. Not right away. Someone pulled her out. She was okay, but after that, she left school. Never came back. People said she moved. No one talked about it again." Silence fell, heavy and wet as the rain around them. Then Nate muttered, "So she followed you? All the way here?" Jenna whispered, "Or maybe she never really left." Back in the cabin, soaked and shaken, the group huddled together under damp blankets. No one blamed Cam. Not out loud. But something had shifted. They knew now. This haunting wasn't random. And Cam was at the center of it. The storm lasted until dawn. When the rain finally stopped, the trees dripped like they were still crying. But something had changed outside. The ground around Cabin 6 was littered with pages. Hundreds of them. All soaked. All from Elsie's journal. Jenna picked one up. On the page was a sketch, hand-drawn in pencil. It showed the 5 of them. All sleeping. And behind them, looming in the shadows, a taller girl. Older. Sharper. With no face. Cam stepped forward and picked up another page. It was blank, except for a single line, scrawled over and over. She remembers everything. The rain left behind more than water. The trees looked grayer in the light. The ground colder. And the air, still too quiet. Not peaceful, but waiting. The group gathered around the pages of Elsie's journal scattered outside cabin 6. Each one was different. Drawings, memories, fragmented words. Cam picked up one he hadn't noticed earlier. It was a drawing of a mirror. But the reflection in it wasn't of Elsie. It wasn't of anyone they knew. It was blank. Head. Body. No features. Just an outline of a human face, with no face at all. Under it, one word had been written in red pencil, over and over, getting darker with each stroke. Ha! Claire crouched beside him, scanning the rest of the papers. Elsie wasn't just haunted, she said quietly. She was warned. Liam glanced toward the tree line. You think there's more than one ghost? Cam didn't answer, because deep down, he already knew. Yes. Elsie wasn't the one whispering now. That evening, they sat together again in the cabin, trying to piece it all together. Claire laid the pages out across the table. I've been trying to understand the timeline. If Elsie disappeared in '96, and she came back because of you, she glanced at Cam, then why is this other presence here too? She's drawn on multiple pages, Jenna said. Always in the background. Never moving. Never clear. She's not a memory, Nate added. She's a watcher. A silence fell across the group. Then, a knock on the door. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. Cam stood. Don't, Claire whispered. But he was already stepping forward. Another knock. This time from the back wall. Liam's breath caught. The sound had moved. Then a third knock. From under the floor. Everyone stood frozen. Cam stepped back. And then, the light bulb burst. Glass scattered to the floor. The flashlight flickered in Jenna's hand. When it steadied again, one of the journal pages was gone. The one with the mirror. In its place, an old, rusted hand mirror, resting on the table. Nobody had seen it appear. Nobody had brought it. Claire stared at it. That wasn't there before. Cam picked it up slowly. The glass inside was blacked out. But as he tilted it, something appeared, not a reflection, not exactly. A blur. A shape. A face with no face. Eyes, absent. Mouth, a dark smear. Jenna whispered, "That's her. The one from the drawing." The air grew heavier. Then, on the mirror's surface, letters began to form. Etched by something unseen. One by one. She took Elsie. Now she wants more. The mirror cracked down the center. Everyone jumped back. And in the silence that followed, Cam finally said what no one else would. This isn't about guilt anymore. This is about ownership. Someone, something took Elsie. Maybe used her pain. And now she wants us. That night, they slept in shifts. Jenna woke to Claire shaking her gently. "Do you hear it?" Jenna sat up. From the forest, came humming. Faint. Low. Childlike. Cam stirred. Then Liam. One by one, they heard it too. Then, closer than before, a whisper drifted in. "Don't look at her. If you see her, she'll see you." Claire rushed to the window and pulled the curtains shut. But not before she saw her. Standing in the clearing. Taller than Elsie. Stiller. Almost featureless. Like someone who used to have a face, but lost it. Claire whispered, trembling, "She's watching the cabin. Not just us. The whole place." She's anchored to it, Cam said. Maybe feeding on it. Jenna opened the journal again. A page had changed. The words rearranged themselves. The ink still fresh. You gave her your fear. Now give her your name. They all stared. Liam backed toward the wall. She wants to replace us. No, Claire said. She wants to be us. The morning fog was thicker than ever, blanketing the camp in a way that made it feel cut off from the world entirely. No birds. No wind. Just mist and silence, and the subtle sense that the camp was no longer theirs. Jenna was the first to speak what they were all thinking. We have to find Marta. Now. Claire nodded. She knew. She always knew. So they set out, past the cabins, through the abandoned mess hall, across the overgrown paths, until they reached the small private cabin that Marta stayed in, tucked behind the administration lodge. The door was slightly ajar. Liam knocked once. No answer. He pushed it open slowly. Inside, the room was neat. Tidy. A cot made perfectly. Shelves lined with old camp manuals. A single lantern flickered on the desk, casting long shadows. And next to it, a box of tapes. Cam walked in first. He picked one up. The label read, 1996, Incident Log. Claire flipped through the rest. More labels. Campfire retellings. Elsie, behavior reports. Observation notes, cabin 6. Jenna found a recorder on the shelf and hit play. A hiss of static. Then Marta's voice, softer, younger. Recording log. July 15th. Elsie has been seen near cabin 6 again. The drawings are getting worse. I've tried to talk to her, but she stares through me. I think the presence she talks about, it's real. More static. Then Marta's voice again. I don't think she brought it with her. I think it was already here. Cam's blood ran cold. Claire whispered, she knew. She didn't stop it. Another tape clicked on. A male voice this time. Unfamiliar. One of the mirrors shattered today. No one touched it. The girl said she saw her without her face. We think the entity is mimicking them, growing stronger when they are afraid. Then, another voice. This time a whisper, captured on the recording, so faint it made the group freeze. You shouldn't have come back. Jenna turned off the recorder. The room suddenly felt smaller. We need to find Marta now, Nate said. Alive or not. They found her in the old arts cabin, once the location of the mirror room. She was sitting in the center of the floor, legs crossed, hands clasped. Eyes open, but unblinking. Around her were broken pieces of mirror. At first, she didn't respond. Then slowly, her head tilted. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Claire knelt beside her. You knew. All this time. Marta's voice was hollow. You brought her back. Jenna stepped forward. Elsie? Marta shook her head slowly. No. Not Elsie. The other. The one who was with her. Feeding off her loneliness. Her pain. Cam's voice cracked. Who is she? Marta stared straight ahead, her voice shaking. We called her the Faceless One. She reflects your guilt. Where's your memory? But she's not real. She's a wound, one this camp never healed. Claire whispered, and Elsie? She didn't vanish, Marta said softly. She gave herself to it. To save the rest of us. She thought if it took her, it would stop. Tears formed in her eyes. But it didn't. Jenna looked at the shards on the ground. She's stronger now. We've seen her. Heard her. Marta's voice turned to a whisper. Then you've been marked. Lightning flashed outside. One of the mirrors by Marta's side cracked down the center, again, untouched. She finally turned to them, her eyes glassy and hollow. It's too late for me. Liam whispered, What do we do? Marta reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a slip of paper. She handed it to Cam. On it was a map of the camp. Old, weathered, but one thing stood out. A marked spot, deep in the woods, far past the known trails. A red X labeled simply, Burial Site. Marta whispered. Elsie tried to bury the memory. But she wasn't strong enough. Then her voice shifted. Low, otherworldly. But maybe you are. Her body went still. For a moment, no one moved. Then Cam whispered, She's gone. But in the mirror beside her, Marta was still staring. Smiling. The map crackled in Cam's hands as he unfolded it again, scanning the path they hadn't known existed. Faint dotted lines wound through the far edge of the forest, away from the cabins, the mess hall, and even the lake. None of them had been that far. Jenna stared at the X marked in red ink. This is where it ends. Claire shook her head. Or where it started. They left that afternoon, just as the fog began to lift. The trail was nearly invisible, choked with brambles, fallen branches, and roots that curled like fingers across the earth. For an hour, they walked in silence, save for the sounds of snapping twigs beneath their feet. No one spoke. Even the forest seemed to hush around them. Then the trees opened. And they saw it. The foundation of a building, long decayed, sunken into the earth. Just stone outlines and crumbled bricks. A rusted sign lay flat in the weeds, half buried in moss. Liam pulled it up gently. The words, faded and worn, read, Camp Larkspur, Main Hall, estimated 1954. Wait, Claire whispered, but this isn't the main hall. That one's still standing. Cam exhaled. This was the original camp. Before the fire. They looked around. There were remains of more structures, splintered beams, rusted nails. Even the air felt different. Older. And then they found it. At the base of a crooked pine, beneath a cairn of rotting stones, was a shallow depression in the ground. Half dug. Recent. Something had disturbed it. Something, or someone. They moved the stones one by one. Underneath, wrapped in layers of decomposed cloth, was a box. Metal. Sealed tight. Claire knelt and pried it open with a stick. Inside were photographs. Dozens. All of kids. Campers. Some smiling. Some not. And in every single one, standing in the far background, was a tall figure in white. No face. No features. Just there. Watching. Jenna flipped through them in disbelief. These are decades old. Some from the 60s. Some newer. She's in all of them. She's not a ghost, Cam whispered. She's something else. A pattern. A parasite. Tied to this place. Liam pulled out one final photo. It was of Elsie, sitting by the lake. Alone. But someone was with her. Just barely visible in the reflection on the water. Not standing. Not looming. Sitting beside her. Whispering. Jenna's voice cracked. She was already marked. Thunder rolled low in the distance. The sky dimmed again. Claire looked around. We shouldn't stay here. But as they turned to leave, Cam noticed something under the box, dug into the dirt. A torn piece of canvas. He pulled it free. It was part of an old camp banner. The word stitched across it read, Larkspur's light will guide you home. But beneath that, in dark red ink, something else had been scrawled. Unless it follows you. The walk back was quiet, every twig snap making them jump. They didn't speak about what they'd found, not until they returned to cabin 6. Cam sat on the edge of his bed, flipping through the photos again. There was one that unsettled him more than the rest. A group shot. 5 kids. Their backs turned. Looking into the trees. Behind them, barely noticeable, stood someone else. Someone with his height. His posture. Wearing what looked like his jacket. But it wasn't him. His face wasn't there. Just emptiness. He dropped the photo. Jenna leaned over. What is it? I think she's trying to wear us. Claire froze. Like a mask. Like a memory, Cam corrected. Not just to haunt us. To become us. She needs faces. Names. Stories. Liam whispered, then what happens when she gets all of that? No one answered. But the mirror across the room cracked. Right down the center. Sunday morning came with a sky too clear. No wind. No fog. Only silence. For the first time in days, the camp looked ordinary. Peaceful. As if the nightmares had passed. But they hadn't. The group stood at the edge of the parking lot, staring at Marta's old van. Keys in hand. Bags packed. Claire had hot-wired it. It hadn't been used in years. Still, she'd gotten it running. The only plan now was to leave. Forget the last few days. Drive until trees gave way to highways and sleep came without whispers. Cam sat in the passenger seat. Jenna behind him. Nate and Liam climbed in, looking over their shoulders like something might still be following. Claire got behind the wheel. Let's just go, she muttered. We don't need closure. We need distance. She turned the key. The van roared to life. For a moment, everyone felt it, the hope. The edge of safety. She pressed the gas. The tires spun in gravel. They lurched forward. 10 feet. 20. 30. And then the world bent. The road ahead shifted. Not visibly. Not violently. But wrong. Cam blinked. This isn't the path we came in on. Claire kept driving. The forest was tighter here. Closer. The trees leaned in unnaturally, their branches arching like ribs. Light barely filtered through the canopy. Jenna checked her phone. No signal. Again. Where are we? She whispered. They should have reached the highway by now. Then, the van stopped. On its own. The engine stalled. The lights dimmed. Claire hit the key again. Come on, come on. Nothing. The dashboard flickered. Then blacked out. Silence. And then, from the trees, footsteps. Slow. Crunching leaves. Deliberate. Everyone turned. From the driver's side window, a figure stepped into view. Her. The faceless one. She didn't move like a person. She flowed. Smooth. Terrible. Impossible. And then, she lifted her hand. Cam gasped. She was holding something. A locket. Elsa's. The same one from the dock. She dropped it in the dirt beside the van. Cam opened the door before anyone could stop him. He approached slowly. The forest was deathly quiet. He picked up the locket. Opened it. Inside wasn't Elsa's face anymore. It was his. Except his eyes were gone. Just blank spaces where they should have been. He dropped it instantly. The faceless one tilted her head. Cam staggered back. She opened her mouth. And finally, she spoke. You. Forgot. Me. Her voice was not human. It scraped. It echoed. It filled his chest with cold. You left me in the water. You left me in the mirrors. You left me in the dark. And then, she vanished. Gone. No sound. No flash. Just, not there anymore. The others rushed out. Where is she? Jenna shouted. Cam turned. She was right here. But there was no trace. No locket. No footprints. Not even the road they'd come in on. Just trees. Everywhere. A dense wall of forest. The van was gone, too. As if it had never been there at all. They walked for hours, trying to retrace their steps. Every direction they turned led them back to camp. To cabin 6. Like the woods had folded in on itself. Claire dropped her bag and sank to the ground. It's looping. We're trapped. Jenna stared at the trees. She's not letting us go. Cam didn't speak. He looked down at his hands. Something had changed. They were trembling. But not from cold. From something inside. Something that had touched him when she spoke. A seed. A thread. An echo. She's still in me, he whispered. And from the distance, a whisper rode the wind. Good. Evening fell with an unnatural speed. One moment the sky was dull gray, the next it was dusk, like someone had snuffed out the sun behind a curtain. And the cabin wasn't there before. They found it at the far end of the clearing, where no trail led and no map marked. Half collapsed, roof buckled, one wall charred black as coal. It reeked of smoke, long since burned out. Claire stared at it. I've passed this clearing a dozen times. That cabin was never there. Cam stepped toward the ruin. I think it only shows itself when you remember it. Jenna glanced at him. You sound like you've been here. He didn't answer. Not with words. Not yet. Inside, the cabin was colder than the night. The air was thick with soot and silence. Old cots lined the walls, rusted springs sticking out like claws. The floor was warped from heat long gone. And in the back corner, a trapdoor. Half burned. Sealed shut with melted chains. Nate knelt beside it. What is this? Claire brushed ash away from the wood, revealing scorched lettering. Isolation Ward, 1987. Cam's breath caught. This wasn't just a camp cabin. Liam stood up. It was a hospital room. Or a holding cell, Claire said. They broke the chains and pulled the hatch open. Stairs descended into darkness, air rising like a breath from below, damp, foul, heavy. They lit a lantern and climbed down. The underground chamber was narrow. Stone walls. Flickering bulbs that barely held light. Files and broken furniture lay scattered on the floor, half submerged in black water. A rusted metal sign still hung crooked from the wall. Larkspur Psychological Observation Unit, closed. Cam whispered, it wasn't just a camp. It was a facility. For kids who? Who what? Jenna asked, already reading one of the damp files. She read aloud. Subject 04, female. Name withheld. Nonverbal. Responds to mirrors with violent outbursts. Displays mimicry and reflective behavior. No diagnosis confirmed. Isolation recommended. Another file was marked. Do not reflect. She remembers. She mirrors. She absorbs. Cam looked down at the wet stone beneath him. Scratched into the floor, beneath their feet, was a symbol. A circle of 5 lines, intersecting at the center. 5 campers. 1 mirror. Claire held up a drawing from the file, one scrawled by hand. It showed 5 people, surrounded by trees. And in the middle, a tall figure with no face, arms open wide. "She's been here longer than anyone," Claire whispered. "She was a patient. A child. But not human. Or maybe she was once, and the place made her into something else." Jenna trembled. "What do we do?" Cam turned. There, in the corner of the chamber, was a mirror, unbroken, untouched. No dust. No damage. It shouldn't have survived the fire. But it had. He stepped toward it. Inside, the reflection showed the room perfectly. Except for one detail. 6 people. Not 5. A tall girl stood behind them. Closer than before. Reaching. Smiling. He turned. No one was there. He looked back, and the reflection had changed. Now it only showed him. Alone. In cabin 6. Sitting on his bed. Weeping. And behind him, her. The mirror cracked. Then shattered. A blast of air knocked them all back. The lantern died. And in the darkness, her voice returned. Not loud. Not screaming. Just present. "I remember who you are. I remember who I was. But now, I am everyone." They didn't speak on the walk back from the burned cabin. Not until they were safe inside cabin 6, all mirrors covered with sheets, lanterns burning low. The journal pages, the photos, and the notes from the underground ward were spread across the floor like puzzle pieces. Each one a fragment of something ancient and terrible. Claire traced the circle scratched on the stone floor with her finger. "It's a containment sigil," she said softly. "A binding symbol. Used in certain kinds of rituals. To trap something. Or someone." Liam muttered, "Like hair." "But it didn't work," Jenna said. "She's still here." "Maybe they did it wrong," Cam said. "Or maybe they never finished it." Nate paced the room, hands clenched. "So what, we try it ourselves?" Claire looked up. "We don't have another choice." She's been following guilt. Feeding on memory. She's already inside us. Our dreams, our reflections, our names. If we don't seal her, she'll become one of us. Cam flinched at that. He hadn't told them yet. Hadn't told them about the dreams getting sharper. Clearer. About how he'd started seeing her in his reflection. Not behind him. As him. He felt her in his bones now. But he said nothing. Not yet. Claire spread out one final page they hadn't read yet. A torn note from a counselor long ago, written in shaky ink. The mirror is the gate. The voice is the key. The marked must speak her name and offer what was taken, guilt. Only then will she accept containment. Only then will she choose to leave. Jenna swallowed. "We have to say her name?" Claire nodded. "And mean it? Do we even know it?" Liam asked. Cam whispered. Elsie called her something in one of the drawings. He pulled the page from the stack. A girl in a white dress, scribbled over and over with one word beneath her. Amora. Jenna blinked. That was her name? No, Cam said. I think that's the name Elsie gave her. A name to make her real. To trap her in something human. Claire circled the 5 of them with chalk on the cabin floor. Drew the sigil carefully. 5 points. 5 names. But it wasn't enough. The binding requires 6, she said. 6 marked. 1 to speak the name. The others to hold the circle. But there are only 5 of us, Nate said. They all looked at Cam. And he finally spoke. She's already inside me. The room fell silent. Then Claire nodded, quietly. If we begin, there's a chance she won't leave willingly. She'll fight. She'll try to latch onto someone. Twist them. I know, Cam said. I'll do it anyway. That night, just after midnight, they formed the circle. The sigil was complete, drawn in ash and chalk. The candles were lit. And in the center, a mirror. The same one that had cracked days before. But now, it was perfectly smooth again. Claire stood beside Cam. Are you ready? Cam didn't answer. He stared at his reflection and saw her there. His face. But her eyes. Her smile. He stepped into the center of the circle. Everyone else took their positions at each point. And the ritual began. Claire whispered the incantation first, the words found in the journal. Then Jenna. Then Liam. Then Nate. Then Amora. Cam said it softly at first. Then louder. Amora. The candles flickered violently. The mirror trembled. A wind rose, though no windows were open. I remember you, he said. You were alone. Forgotten. Left behind in darkness. But you are not me. You will not be me. The mirror cracked once. Twice. Then shattered outward, but the pieces did not fall. They rose, floating in midair like suspended glass stars. And behind them, her. Not in the mirror. In the room. Faceless. Eyes now formed, made of darkness. A mouth, stitched closed, then slowly ripping open. Cam, she said, in his voice. Then lunged. The circle burned blue. She hit the boundary, hard. Sparks flew. Cam fell to his knees. She screamed, a sound that filled every part of the cabin, rattling bones and thought. The candles dimmed. The air tore. Claire shouted, "Speak the final line." Cam gasped for breath. Her hands were on his chest, reaching inside, clawing at something unseen. "You are guilt," he choked. "But I do not belong to you. I will not carry you anymore. You are remembered, and now you are released." Light exploded from the circle. A blinding flash. And then, silence. No air. No voice. Just darkness. And then, light again. The candles flickered back on. The circle was scorched into the floor. The mirror pieces were gone. Cam lay on the floor, breathing. Alive. And she was gone. No whispers. No presence. No shadows in the corners. The morning after the ritual, Camp Larkspur felt different. The silence that had once clung to the trees like cobwebs was now just silence. Normal. Not charged with whispers or hidden footsteps. No breath in mirrors. No eyes in reflections. Just birdsong. The first they'd heard in days. Claire stood outside cabin 6, watching sunlight finally break through the trees. It felt unreal. Like waking from a nightmare you're not sure you escaped. Inside, Cam sat at the edge of his bed, holding the chalk circle's last unburned piece, the tip that hadn't been touched by flame. His hands weren't shaking anymore. No whispers. No voices. Just the memory. "She's gone," he said aloud. "Isn't she?" No one answered, but Jenna sat down beside him, resting her shoulder against his. "Maybe she is," she said softly. "Or maybe she just stopped needing us." They packed quietly. No one argued. The road back to the main gate was clear now. The trees didn't press in. The air didn't pull at them. Even Marta's cabin was empty, as if she'd never existed at all. And when they reached the lot, Marta's van was there, right where they'd last seen it. No dents. No scratches. Keys already in the ignition. Liam checked the tires. 4. Claire lifted the hood. Battery charged. Cam said nothing, just got in and waited. This time, when Claire turned the key, it started. And the road stayed real. They drove for hours. No forks in the road. No trees changing behind them. Just miles of forest thinning into distant town roads. Cell signals returned one by one. Jenna was the first to cry. Not loud. Just a single tear as the gas station lights came into view, blinking gently like a lighthouse to the lost. They didn't talk about it right away. But they didn't forget. Each night afterward, they'd dream. Sometimes of mirrors. Sometimes of water. Sometimes of a voice, Amora's, humming softly at the edge of sleep. But the dreams faded over time. Not gone, just quieter. A month later, Cam visited the school archives near his old neighborhood. He asked about Camp Larkspur. The librarian frowned. "There's no record," she said. "No incidents? No fire? No files?" She shook her head. "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think that camp ever existed." But Cam had proof, the locket. He pulled it from his coat pocket and placed it on the desk. When he opened it, the picture inside had changed again. No longer Elsie. No longer himself. Just a blank oval where a face should be. Underneath it, etched in tiny letters, was one new word. Remember. 1 year later, the camp was gone. Not just abandoned, erased. Cam had gone back. Alone. He needed to know if what they experienced still echoed through the pine needles and fog. But where the gate once stood, there was nothing but overgrowth and silence. No signposts. No cabins. No road. Even the trees seemed unfamiliar. It was like Camp Larkspur had been swallowed by the earth, or like it had never been there at all. But Cam remembered. He always would. The others tried to move on. Claire was studying in another city. Liam and Nate kept their distance, afraid that speaking her name again might summon something back. Jenna sent postcards. Never returned addresses. Still no dreams, she'd once written. But sometimes I wake up and check the mirrors. Just in case. Cam didn't tell them what he saw. Not yet. Not until he was sure. It began on a cold October morning. He passed a store window and caught his reflection. Except he wasn't wearing that jacket. The one in the glass was. It was the coat she wore in the journal sketches, white, tattered at the edges. He turned quickly. Nothing there. But his heart raced. That night, he lit a candle beside the cracked locket. He whispered, "Amora." Nothing happened. No wind. No cold. But the mirror on his wall rippled slightly, as though it had breathed. And in the reflection, something shifted behind him. Not a person. Just sadness. Deep. Endless. Waiting. Cam whispered, "I didn't forget." He took the locket in his hand and stood in front of the mirror. You wanted to be remembered. Not feared. You wanted a name. So here it is. He placed the locket down, facing the glass. You are not a curse. You are a story. And I'll carry it now. There was no reply. But in the mirror, just before he turned away, he saw a smile. Small. Barely there. And the faceless girl, no longer empty, simply nodded once. Then disappeared. Forever. Cam sleeps better now. He doesn't speak of her often. But every now and then, when he passes a mirror or catches a flash of movement in the corner of his eye, he whispers, "I remember." And the world, the quiet, watching world, seems to whisper back. That's all she ever wanted.